Today, our guest on the Dream Big series is Billy Brimblecom. Billy is originally from Kansas City and has toured the nation for a number of years as a drummer for a few different groups. Billy also spent a fair amount of time in Nashville as a studio musician. A number of years back, though, Billy was diagnosed with cancer and lost his leg. He took what a lot of people would consider a loss and turned it into a major purpose and is now a big part of the Steps of Faith organization. This organization helps people that need prosthetics to get them. A lot of times insurance will not cover that or maybe only cover a portion of that, and Steps of Faith will step in and make up that difference. Billy shares a lot of great things today. Also, one of the things I enjoyed talking to Billy about was his cover band, Summer Breeze. Summer Breeze is a yacht rock band that has been playing for a few years, and they get $20 a ticket to come see them and sell out rooms of 1,000 people, which is extremely impressive when you're able to do that with a cover group. Billy also talks about his relationship with Jason Sudeikis and how they became friends in the Kansas City Comedy Club years ago, and how Jason has continued to support and be a big part of Thundergong, which is the big benefit that Steps of Faith does every year. This is Chad Borkwin, and this is the Dream Big series. I am a professional musician and recording artist that has been fortunate enough to learn how to get paid doing what I love. But this didn't just happen for me. In fact, I have years of doing things other than music that have all played into part of the success I get to experience now. But more importantly, I've learned the value of having the right people speak into my life and how that is the key to breaking free of old limiting habits. So if you're tired of being stuck and you believe there is more for you in life, the good news is everything I've done is a result of what I've learned, and it can be taught. Join us as we bring topics and guests onto this show to provide you with valuable insights on how to get to your big dream. This is the Dream Big series. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Dream Big series, and today we've got Billy Brimblecom from Steps of Faith, from Summer Breeze.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Kansas City.
Man, I'll tell you what, I did a little light reading last night.
Okay.
And there's an article out there, the behind the scenes article on you. Have you read it?
Was this the in Kansas City Tim Finn thing?
I didn't even check to see who wrote it. That sounds right, though. I mean, it was very in depth. And
I think that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating, man.
Yeah.
You've got all kinds of history that it's pretty fascinating. Let's start out with, though, a bit, just kind of, how did you start playing drums? What led to that?
Yeah. I started playing drums when I was 11. And I was always a kid that was really into music. I'd say I was like a radio kid, just always listening to the radio. And my dad was really into music and had played music, a little bit when he was younger and that kind of thing, and had a bunch of albums, and he listened to the radio and, took me to the Jackson's Victory Tour in 1984 at Arrowhead Stadium, which was my second concert. First concert was Ronnie Millsap at Worlds of Fun, which would have been in the 80s. But yeah, so...
and you're an Oak Ridge Boys fan.
Oh, right. That's right. What?
Elvira.
Yeah. That was the Tim Finn article. Okay, yeah. Yeah. No, I remember... Oh, that's so good. Yes. I forgot about that. Yeah. Which I thought they were saying... I thought Elvira was Little Fire when I was a kid. It's so funny now having kids, and that happens all the time. You hear them singing songs...
Yeah.
Clearly the wrong words,
right.
But yeah, it's so funny.
And your kids are held now?
I have my boy is 7, and our daughter will be 5 in about a month.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
So I was just really into music early on, and growing up as a kid was in the 80s. So originally I wanted to play the saxophone. Like, it wasn't like there was years where I wanted to play the saxophone, but by the time as I was getting to the age where you could start band in elementary school, was in 5th grade, I was going to play the saxophone. And they make you play the clarinet is what they did for me, which I get, but a way to make a kid really excited about playing the saxophone is make him not play the saxophone.
Right.
So in 6th grade, then, instead of starting in beginning band with the 5th graders, I wanted to stay with my friends, but we had a new band director, so I pulled a fast one on him because I thought he would never know, and I just showed up with a snare drum. He quickly learned that I had no idea what I was doing, but yeah, I had a snare drum at the beginning of the year, and then that Christmas, my dad bought me my first drum set. Yeah.
So that's when you started playing, and then what led to like your first band, and what was that experience like?
So the band was in place before the drum set. So I had one of my best friends in grade school, Trent Ehlert, who is still a working guitar player in Kansas City, who is fantastic. So he was really talented from a young age at playing guitar. Like would play in the talent. I remember he played in the talent show in like 4th grade, like playing a Bon Jovi song or something like that. I was like, this is amazing. And so we had a band and we'd even rehearsed a couple times in his basement with him on guitar and me just playing snare drum. So I remember I called him on Christmas Eve when I got the drum kit. And so yeah, I mean, then that spring I played my first, not counting a band concert playing the clarinet in 5th grade, we played our first performance to our music class, and it was my friend Trent on guitar, my friend Jeff Calloway on guitar, me playing my drum set, not using the bass drum, because even though my dad showed me how to do it because he kind of knew the basics of playing drums, this is the bass drum. I just was going by ear. I would play, use the hit the floor tom as the bass drum, and it would just ride the hi-hat with my foot. Yeah. Anyway, that's some drum nerd stuff, but that's not how you. Right. It made sounds, but that's not traditionally how the instruments play. Yeah. But yeah, we played music class. We played no vocals. Played a Def Leppard song, and then the talent. We did improve fast. I mean, we played then at the talent show, which would have been in May or whatever. A couple months later, a Guns N' Roses song. We played "Sweet Child of Mine," and then we had two male singers singing "Sweet Child of Mine," and didn't have to sing falsetto because we're in 6th grade, so their voices were really high. Yeah. So there was a band right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a point that you actually moved to Nashville and worked with Don, right, from Waterdeep?
Yes. Okay. You know Don?
Know of Don.
Okay.
Yeah. For sure. And definitely followed his music and stuff.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So, yeah, we go from 1988 or 89 to 2007 is actually when I met Don. Technically, I met Don, my friend Danny Krause from high school. I went to high school with this guy, Danny Krause, who played in the very beginning versions of Don's band with his wife, Waterdeep. And so I had met Don in probably 1993 in passing. But then I was introduced to him in 2007, and he was just a fast friend. Yeah. And so then he and I, his family and my wife and I, and then also our friend Greg LaFollette, who I play with to this day, we all moved to Nashville a month apart, June, July, August, in the summer of 2009. And so at that point, I mean, that's a lot of life from 6th grade to, I was 32 then. But I'd been working as a musician my whole life, and really working on a good month as a touring musician. And at that point, I was doing a lot of freelance stuff in Kansas City. I was playing with a lot of different people for the first time, like regularly playing with a lot of different people, which I loved. But my wife and I just kind of felt called to Nashville just for more opportunities. And I was working more and more with Don, and really most of the opportunities, at least the best ones that came to me as a musician while living in Nashville, ultimately were through people that I met through Don.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably the only way to really shorten that journey down there, isn't it? Through people you already know. And
it really is. Like, I love talking to people and making new friends and that kind of thing. And I kind of got there and set out for that to be my job and just make connections and that kind of thing. But it was I also felt a little bit of a pressure to like hurry up and make a living because I was 32 years old. It wasn't like coming up here where you just meet people and that leads to this person, this person, this person, the way like life works, you know. So yeah, the best relationships were the most natural and organic. And it wasn't like there aren't people that I'm still friends with there that I'd sought out or whatever, because that's how I made some friends. But
Right.
ultimately it's because there was some sort of degree of separation to somebody I already knew.
Yeah.
So
And you were there how long?
7 years
Okay.
in Nashville.
So when was this in relation to, you know, you've got quite a cancer survivor story as well.
Yeah.
When was this in relation to all that?
So the cancer year was 2005.
Okay.
And then, we moved to Nashville in 2009.
Okay. Gotcha. And so when that happened, you were touring with a band, right?
Yes. Yeah, the cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the very beginning stages of a brand new band, but based on our collective past, mainly the past of the singer of the band, Jim Sudeikis, who was and is still in the Get Up Kids. We knew that we would have a go. We knew that it would be, it wasn't a matter of like, hopefully we can get a tour. We knew that we would at least have like a little bit of a shot to prove ourselves. And to that point, that's really just all I wanted. I just wanted to, I was working really hard. And this is also what I did in just a few short years later in Nashville. I worked really hard just to be able to have the opportunity to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? You work really hard just to try to like create these opportunities for yourself to then actually go out and do it. And so I was always the guy in my bands that typically, was never on the road enough. And then I was in this band from Los Angeles through a friend that I knew from, touring days that lived in Austin. Anyway, this band was called The Start. This was like 2003, so like right before Blackpool Lights started. And then that went like the opposite direction. Then it was like too much touring, like 10 months on the road. And that really, those people are amazing. But it was never really a good fit for me, interpersonally. Like it's fine. And I'm proud of the record we made and everything. And we did amazing things. And I'd never toured the West Coast. They were an LA band, I played the Troubadour with them on my first tour. It was like amazing, But, so then when I left that band, because I was just very, very unhappy, and then Blackpool Lights, I got word that Jim was looking to put together a project of his own. I knew Jim and liked him, and we loved the Get Up Kids, and those guys were our friends, and, inspirational to us as far as like hardworking, good band. Anyway, so when I was, large digression. Yes.
Yeah.
When I was sick, when I was diagnosed, was about, so Blackpool Lights started in probably like the fall of summer or fall of 2004, and then at kind of the beginning of 2005, like a week after we played our first show, I was diagnosed with cancer. So we hadn't toured yet, we hadn't made the record yet, we'd written most of the record. But yeah, so that was kind of this devastating thing, because I knew like I had been working a ton, and it was just also so great to be able to like, it was Jim who I'd known, and then two friends from a band 2 bands ago that were like my brothers, and we were all local, When I was in a band from LA, I always lived here, so I'd be gone even way more because I'd have to go out of LA a week before a tour to rehearse or be there for a month to record, So yeah.
When this happened, when the diagnosis, was it a pretty fast process, or was it kind of gradual before you knew what was going to happen as far as losing your leg? How did that go down?
It was all pretty fast, yeah. So I had been. So this part doesn't seem fast, but technically, so this is 2005. In 1999, I was in a really bad car accident driving on K10 from not far from here, from Kansas City to Lawrence. Snowy car accident, jaws of life used to get me out. Terrible. Compression fracture on some vertebrae, very scary, awful. But that all worked out. Later that summer, I had really bad pain in the middle of the night in my left ankle, kept me up for 3 nights, and then went away for months. And basically over time, and I got it looked at some point. I have shin splints. What's happening?
Right.
You know, everything was fine. Nothing, it just was unexplainable. So over time, that started happening more often, and the pain would then it just hurt more on a higher level, and then so that was a long process. But then, like basically, in 2004, that was just like a rough year anyway. It's like I was in this band; it was everything I ever wanted, and I was miserable. That was the band, the start. Again, we're good. Those people are amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. I was in a bad place at that time, super depressed. And then also this was happening. This like pain was getting worse and worse and worse. And so then finally at the beginning of '05, I went to a neurologist to have my nerve damage looked at because we thought it was like, oh, you're in this car accident. It was undiagnosed trauma. It's nerve damage. Then at that point, it was kind of fast. There was about a month, because it was kind of the beginning of the year of '05. That was kind of the longest part of not knowing was like test.
Right.
And then eventually, okay, it's cancer. Okay, now it's this kind of cancer. And then 2 days, basically then it was like from the times like you have Ewing sarcoma, it was like 2 days of tests or like a day of tests, 2 maybe, and then immediately in chemo. And then, so that was the beginning of the year. It was around this time of 2005. But then I knew from the time before I even knew that I had cancer that one of the things that it could be is a type of sarcoma, and if it is a sarcoma, that it's possible that I would lose my leg to, quote, save my life. And then I found that out in July of '05, and then August 4th, 2005 is when the surgery happened. And then the next day, Black Bull Lights went on their first tour without me with a sub-temporary drummer. So
at any point on that, did you ever say, I'm not going to be able to drum anymore? Did you always like, no, I'm going to figure this out no matter what?
I knew, yeah, I was like, I'm going to figure that out. I just was like, you sit down, it's my left leg.
Yeah.
Hi-hat just goes up and down, I'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. I had a drum set up in my apartment the whole time with sound off pads so that I could play in my apartment, not disturb my neighbors, which I probably still did. But, so yeah, I just knew I'd figure that out. I mean, the drumming was together I was like drumming pretty well and kind of like, back to normal maybe way before I was walking well,
Yeah.
And again, it's just because you sit down to do it. So,
Right.
Yeah. Fortunately, that all worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And then you've got the steps of faith that's quite a deal. You've done some amazing things with that. 250 prosthetics you've helped people get. Is that right?
More than that. We did 133 just last year, 76 the year before, 50 something the year before. And we're...
Yeah, I guess I read the article. It was probably old.
Yeah. But yeah, in that ballpark, hundreds, you know, and so yeah, that was the thing while living in Nashville. Again, we moved there July 4th, 2009. And then in 2013, the beginning of 2013, I'd come off a year, 2012, of doing the kind of thing I moved there to do. I was working all year. I moved there to hopefully work mostly in the studio, and I was working mostly on the road, but still I was working playing drums. And the year ended with still a pretty creative high watermark. Excuse me. In New York City, doing an off-Broadway showcase run of Don Chaffer's first musical, actually. Then my wife was pregnant, and our first baby was born 6 weeks early, which was a shocking, traumatic surprise. Only traumatic because it's your first baby, and it's just shocking anyway, and it's crazy. He's fine, but he was in the NICU for a few days, and it just was scary. He just was early, and praise God, he was great then and he's great now. But in that time, I was like, I don't want to go back on the road. Right. I don't want to leave the house, let alone the city, to be away from. It's hard enough being away from your wife for long periods of time. But so really long story short, I talked one day to I was at my prosthetic guy, my prosthetist office for an appointment doing something on my leg. On my way out, he said, "Hey, will you talk to the patient I'm about to see? He lost his leg to cancer. He's all healed up. I think he could benefit from talking to you, kind of being on the other side of it." And I was like, dude, I would love to do that. I don't get asked to do that kind of thing very often. I feel like that's part of why this happened to me. He's like, all right, get in there. Talked to the guy for 5 minutes, and I could just see that hope in his eyes. And again, I was kind of looking for a job at that point, and I left there. And I remember I told my wife when I got home that I wished that, telling her about that talk, 5 minutes with this guy, and how I wish that like that could be my job. And the next day I told my prosthetist the same thing, and he said, well, maybe it could be. And again, really long story short, he introduced me to the guy who was his boss, who owned the company, who I had never met. And we had a couple conversations about maybe working together. I didn't know what that meant. And then he said, I established a 501c3 4 years ago, but I'm running this business. I haven't been able to get this off the ground. 501c3 is a tax denomination for a nonprofit public charity, for those who don't know. And what if I bring you on and you do it? And so there's a little more to it than that, but that was basically it. So the name, the tax exempt status was in place, the name was in place, and the mission to do what we do, and that was it. And so I say this all the time, and it's like he tossed me the keys to a car with no engine in it and said, see what you can do with that.
Wow.
And so...
And this was a day after you had said, I wish. Is that right?
It was about, at that point, it was about a month, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Very fast, yeah. And so April 1st, 2013 was my first day, paid with way less qualified than I thought to run and build a nonprofit organization. But, Rob, the founder guy, and, we talked pretty much every day trying to just figure it out. I called everybody I knew and basically was kind of a check out what just happened to me when I got the job kind of thing, because it's a cool part to the story, right? And what that did was basically built the initial donor base that really, thankfully grew, but not a lot for a while. And so we just figured it out. I built the board of directors and built the business part of the business. Business is supposed to make money, and in this case, bring in money to use to help amputees. So Steps of Faith helps amputees that have no health insurance or a policy that has no prosthetic coverage, which is a lot of people.
I imagine.
And so started in Nashville, and we help people nationwide. And we moved back to Kansas City with the founder and all of the board's blessing. We had board members here at that time anyway, in August of 2016. And that's been... Nashville was great, changed our lives. My wife and I both got jobs we didn't even know were jobs that you could get. Both of our children were born there. But we felt that we kind of got what we were sent there to get, and we moved back here, and that's been one of the best decisions we've ever made.
The music industry is drastically changing, and for the better. The power to have a successful music career is in your hands and no longer up to a few gatekeepers. The key is having the right information, the right tools, and committing to do the work. I want to help you jumpstart your career with my free ebook called Play Music, Make More. This free ebook is everything we've done with our own group, as well as what I've learned being an entertainment agent, and it's all played into the success we've had as independent artists. Visit playmusicmakemore.com to get your free copy today. We're back here talking to Billy, and we are talking about Steps of Faith and how you moved into this, just this, what sounds like your calling, right?
That's fair, yeah.
Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah.
And, and then you create this thing called Thundergong.
Yeah.
Which I've been hearing about this for a number of years.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Thundergong is... a fundraiser for Steps of Faith that is it's a benefit concert, but it's kind of also like a variety show. And so I created it with one of my best pals, Jason Sudeikis, who is from Kansas City. We met when I was 18 and he was 19 in 1995, doing improv comedy together at Comedy Sports in the River Market. It's now called Comedy City, and it's in the Uptown Theater, fittingly enough.
Wait a minute. Improv comedy too?
Yeah. So like in high school, I was like a theater kid. So in high school, I played drums, played marching band, played in jazz band, all that kind of stuff, and then also did plays and acted a fool on the regular. And so. I through one of my drama teachers in high school, I asked her. I knew she knew the owner of Comedy Sports, because he was a theater guy and she was a theater gal, beyond being a theater teacher. And I asked her if she could maybe help get me an interview to be a server, like a pizza server, because they serve pizza and popcorn, that kind of thing, at the comedy club. And she was like, yeah, sure, I'll reach out to him. And then the next day she was like, okay, here's your info. Show up at this time for your audition. I was like, you got to audition to serve pizza? She was like, no, you're going to audition to be in the company. And I was like, what? And, we had I had this, I went to this amazing, I had a great high school time. We had an incredible theater department, Shawnee Mission North High School back in the day. And we had a class that she taught. I had 3 drama teachers. And we had a class that she taught that was called Advanced Repertory Theater. And you had to audition and be selected to be in this class. And what it was a sketch and improv comedy group class that you went to every day. We did a number of productions throughout the year. And one of the shows we did in the year was an improv show. And everybody in the class had a job. Our buddy David Way was the donut wrangler, because once a week we would get donuts, and it was his job to go get the donuts. So there were jobs as important as donut wrangler to improv show producer. So we had one improv show in the year, and that was my job. So I took to that and enjoyed it, and ultimately she got me, this opportunity to audition, and I met a number of my closest friends actually doing it. Jason being the closest, but we had a crew of about 5 other guys that are like brothers to me this day. We're all still talk all the time. And so yes, improv was in the mix as well. And Don's musical, when I said I was doing Don's musical, it was a musical about a family band. So I was actually, that was not improvised, it was scripted, but I was the drummer in the family band who was also a character. So I played this comedic, it was like a funny Southern guy who was the drummer brother in the band. So I played drums, and that's part of the reason it was such a creative high watermark. I was playing this music that I helped create with my friend, and I got to be silly, and act a funny part and get laughs and that kind of thing on a good night.
Man, it's just it sounds like you've never been afraid to walk through a new door. Is that the case?
No one's ever said that. Typically, that's fair. Yeah. I mean,
do you ever even think about it? You
just
do it.
I kind of lean towards the adventure, I guess, to some extent. I just have always, I don't know. I feel like of all the stuff I've done, it's still a pretty narrow pool of interests. You know what I mean? I just am a creative guy, I guess, which that can sound cliche, but it's just I love music very much. And I grew up loving movies and, watching Saturday Night Live from a really young age. I just love the performing arts, really. That's that's an umbrella that encompasses a lot of things, but it's still a narrow, it's one thing on the drop-down menu, right? So, So I guess I've not been afraid to walk through doors that would lead to those opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So, it's kind of I've done a lot of different things, but it's all kind of in that world, except for the dramatic left turn of, running and building a nonprofit organization, which has, worked by the grace of God and trial and error. So Thundergong, back to that. Jason, that's how Jason and I met. We used to, we were together every day we used to do 30 shows a month, and I was living in Lawrence and would usually be too tired after doing 3 shows on a Saturday, so I'd go crash with him in his parents' basement in Overland Park, and he was one of my best friends, and we've remained that way ever since, and in each other's weddings, and all the stuff you do with your best friends. And he had done, I should say, in 2006, my health insurance was only going to cover half of the expense of this prosthetic leg I needed, and it's a $60,000 prosthetic leg. So I had to come up with $30,000. So another friend of ours, Corey Rittmaster, another Overland Park guy, a Comedy Sports friend of ours, said, well, let's try to come up with create a fundraiser. Corey wasn't even living here at the time. None of these folks were. And so we ended up doing these 2 shows at the Record Bar, the first location, in April of 2006. And it was, I explained this because it's important foreshadowing. There was an improv comedy show with Jason, his wife at the time, Kay Cannon, Corey Rittmaster, his wife Monique Madrid, and our friend Ed Goodman. And then my band played. And then we did a second show, and I can't remember if it was either the first or second show. And also, that was Blackpool Lights that played. And there was a silent auction that brought in a bunch of money. Again, 2 shows at Record Bar. They both sold out. And then we also had the Architects, local band that's been around forever. It used to be the Gadgets, the Phillips brothers. I've known them since '95. They also played. So all that to say, the next day I was driving around with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and reflecting on the kind of this is your life night I had just had. And we raised $40,000. We needed 30, raised 40. And I said, it'd be cool. Wouldn't it be great if in a year we did that again and gave the money to somebody else who needed something like that? Well, that's a specific thing. We didn't do that. And then, you see how Steps of Faith started. So that had always been in my head of like, well, we know how to do this kind of thing. So when Steps of Faith started, I told Jason, I was like, we raised $30,000 to pay for half of my leg. When I first got the job with Steps of Faith, I was like, if we raised $30,000, we could be able to help like more than 30 people. So it was like, when the time is right for you, because it's always going to be right for us, because we're a new nonprofit that needs money, and you're a famous guy,
right.
We'll do an event. And so it took a few years, but in 2017, I was like, okay, I feel like I have a fairly put together idea for an event that we can do together. And that became Thundergong.
Yeah.
So, again, it's kind of like a variety show, but, there's a house band that backs all these amazing artists, but it's unique because it'll be Chance the Rapper or Winona Judd or Ben Harper, folks like that. We've had Madison Ward, the Mama Bear, folks that are known as they're famous musicians, but also then playing music is people that are famous but not for making music, like Jason, Will Forte, Fred Armisen. A lot of people know Fred's a musician, but Sam Richardson, guys like that. These actor guys who are very musical people. There's been a magician every year, things like that. So, it's just like a crazy party, where we're just playing original songs, cover songs that are, all killer, no filler songs that are written on everybody's heart, that most people have known forever. And that has dramatically, I'd say moving back to Kansas City, but definitely Thundergong has just dramatically changed the game for Steps of Faith. So.
And what time of year does that happen?
November.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And where is the next one going to be at?
At the Uptown Theater. We're going to do that again. So we've done 3 of them. And that's why I say, fittingly enough, the Comedy Club is now located inside the Uptown. November 14th, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Summer Breeze.
Okay.
Because this is...
the thing that brought us together.
Yeah. But I've been hearing about you guys for a while now. And it's a bit of a phenomenon that you're pulling the kind of crowds you are with the ticket sales that you have.
Yeah.
The last time I heard you you sold out 1,000 seat.
Yeah.
At $20 a head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty unheard of.
For a cover band.
For a cover band.
That's not a Sublime cover band or something.
Yeah.
So there's that Sublime cover band that used to tour.
How did it start? And then how did it get there?
Yeah. Many years ago, I had a period. So I have a good friend, Bill Pyle, who, you know Bill Pyle, right?
I know of Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of operate in a similar job space a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been in concert promotion business for decades. Anyway, Bill Pyle also is a very musical man and a DJ, and so very long story short, years ago in 2003, Bill Pyle was like, I want to see a DJ night where you just play just your vinyl record collection, which was like stuff that my dad gave me. It was like, Journey records and 80s records and classic rock and, whatever, I was like, okay. So I had this, so he got me this, I didn't know how to operate 2 turntables and a mixer, and I wasn't, playing electronic music or scratching or anything like that. I was just playing song. He taught me how to do that. He got me a night. It went really well. It was a Monday night. It was packed. And so then I started doing that once a month. In that period of time, all these DJs and all these guys would come, and it was like this weird weeknight nightlife kind of thing. Bill had made a mix CD that he was passing around to his other DJ friends and friends of his, called Slow Jams for Soccer Moms. It was basically what we now know to be, and this was not a coined term at that time, yacht rock. There was a few things that would technically fall outside of the confines of yacht rock, but it was basically yacht rock. 70s and 80s soft rock music. And Ambrosia, Christopher Cross, Doobie Brothers, things like that. And so then fast forward a couple years to 2005, there was this group of guys who made a YouTube series called Yacht Rock. It might have been called Beyond. No, that was the podcast. It was called Yacht Rock, or The Story of Yacht Rock or something. And it was these guys who basically created these, like there was an episode that they're not actors. It's terrible acting. It's like so over the top on purpose, but they're these characters playing Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. And I think the first episode, for instance, was the story, and they're 20 minutes long, 15 minutes long, something like that. The story of Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins getting together and writing What a Fool Believes, the Doobie Brothers song. But it's like their fictionalized fantasy version. It's just so ridiculous. Well, all of a sudden, there was a name to the Slow Jam for Soccer Moms thing. So Bill Pyle and I would do these DJ nights where we would play yacht rock. That was that. At one point in 2009, before we moved to Nashville, sometime that year, my wife and I were on a long drive on my iPod listening to a yacht rock playlist that I had. And I was saying, what if we put together... So I will also say we had a Journey tribute band at that time, me and my friends, that was doing really well, Stone in Love, playing Journey songs, with my buddy JD, who's been in every band I've ever been in, who could sing all of that stuff. And so I was kind of in that headspace. I was like, what if we put together a tribute band that did like a yacht rock playlist? It would be so hard, but if we did it well, it would be incredible. Basically, that's what we did. So we were going to do it one time before we moved to Nashville, my wife and I. And then we ended up squeezing in a second show. We did it April of 2009 was the first show. And then we did another show in June or July or something like that right before we moved. And then, well, we're coming home for Thanksgiving. What if we did another one of those Summer Breeze shows? Like they kind of packed out the club. So for many years, we played about 2 times a year. When we'd be home for the holidays and when we'd do a show in the summer. And that was it. To answer the second harder to answer question as to why now 11 years later, 10 years later, we can draw 1,000 people and we've played people's wedding receptions and like it's this, and like this happens to my wife more than me, but like people around town like recognize us from Summer Breeze and like they come up to her like, oh my gosh, I'm such a, like we've like taken pictures with people and they're not trying to be like ironic, like fans. It's crazy. I think what has happened there's a couple things. I think the fact that because we all lived all over the country and we were unable to play very often, I think that built an anticipation. Yeah. First of all, we take it very seriously. I always joke we take fun very seriously. So the band is good. We've spent a lot of time trying to make that good, and so I think that the time between shows benefited us because it was like, this doesn't happen very often. It's an event. And so then also, yacht rock kind of became more of a known thing. Sirius XM satellite radio has a yacht rock radio station. That helped a lot. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a very, very pleasant surprise that, we would fill Record Bar. We first played Kansas Hall for a fundraiser. Like, this is enormous. And like 400 people came, it was like, whoa, it's a fundraiser for a friend of ours, a guy in the band at the time, many years ago. And then I was like, why don't we try to play a for-profit show there and just see what happens? And we drew, I don't remember how many people, 300 or 400 or whatever, and we've grown into it.
Yeah.
The fact we've sold it out at 1,000 people is crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and of course, we're really excited because we have you at Town Center
Yes.
on the 18th of June.
Yes.
For a free concert.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't even have to pay to get to that.
That's right. Bring the family, bring the kids. That'll be it's really, I think, good timing for us for that. That's like the area where we've played the most and had the most success is, out there, out south in the burbs. And I think this is perfect. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, Billy. So think back till 16-year-old Billy. And, you've had a lot of life since then.
Yes.
Lot to go.
Yeah.
But a lot between now and then. What are some things you would tell that kid saying, man, knowing what he's going to go through? What would you tell him right now for advice?
Yeah. I feel like I've been asked this question before, but not quite in that way. You framed that in a really good way. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. I've said before that, like, if I wouldn't change the things, the leg and all that now, and I've joked that if in 2005 God came to me himself at the beginning of the year and was like, hear me out, I would have been like, hell no, and ran away, Yeah. But fortunately, we're not given that option. So, I think I would have told that kid, like, just don't worry so much. It's going to be all right. But I went to about Creative Mornings, that speaker series, Creative Mornings. Anyway,
No.
It's a cool thing they do around the world. But there's a Creative Mornings chapter in Kansas City, and they have these creative people speak, and you could put a name tag. And I think the question was something like that, like, what would you tell your 16-year-old self or whatever, something like that. And I think I wrote down, I was like, so I'm like thinking of it. I'm like at this creative speaking thing. So I'm like, well, what I did, which is like, make music with your friends, And so I think all that part I did right.
Right.
Really what I do with Steps of Faith is the same thing. It's just this, you know what I mean? I just talk to people and like make friends, and then we do stuff together.
Yeah.
So yeah, but when you frame it of like knowing all the stuff that I had to go through, I would just be like, hang on to your friends, try not to worry. It'll all be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great advice. I'd like our listeners to be able to support you and everything you're doing here, and we're going to put this info in the show notes as well.
Great.
But so Steps of Faith, what's the website there?
StepsOfFaithFoundation.org. StepsOfFaithFoundation.org.
Okay, great. And of course, Summer Breeze, you got a website for that, right?
We actually don't have a website for Summer Breeze, which is crazy. We've really just been like living show to show until a few years ago. We just always thought the next show was the last show.
Sure.
But Summer Breeze KC on Facebook, and that really, it's a Facebook page. It's like the main thing. So Summer Breeze KC.
So if you're in a starting band, up and coming, don't listen to that advice.
No.
Get yourself a website.
Get yourself a website, Squarespace. You can make it yourself.
Right.
We will. We need a website.
It's all good.
But goodness gracious,
it's understandable what you've done with it. It's been fun, and it just turned into something.
It really did. Yeah, it's just nuts. Yeah, it's like, we have an fairly new original project which I talked to you about, Maz and all, and I'm like, guys, we need to make sure we have before the show's announced, we get an Instagram going. And one of you guys create a Facebook page? We have a website, all this stuff. So it's like, the fact that it's worked with Summer Breeze with just a Facebook page is nuts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Man, first of all, I want to acknowledge you for just everything that you've done, that you've become. You're a huge inspiration.
Thank you.
It's since I've gotten to start to know you and talk to you. When I bring up your name, the one thing that always happens with everybody is there's this huge appreciation and reverence for you. They just people, you have made a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Oh,
and so, man, my hat's off to you. Just keep going, keeping it on, doing that. And we're gonna figure out ways we can help support you as well. So
thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Right. Yeah, this is great.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this interview with Billy Brimblecom. And well, I tell you what, if you enjoyed any of this, or if you know somebody would enjoy any of this, please either comment, share this with your friends, pass it on to anybody that you think would benefit, as well as let's support Billy, and let's get out there and support the different things he's involved in. So one of the ways you could do that is go to stepsoffaithfoundation.org, and that's ways to maybe even donate and help this organization out. And if you are a fan of yacht rock, make sure you look up Summer Breeze on Facebook, and we're going to have all these links in there, as well as we will put Billy's brand new original band that he's got put together as well. That link is going to be in the show notes too. So thank you again for listening to the Dream Big series. You've been listening to the Dream Big series. We would love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to visit us at dreambigseries.com for more podcast videos and blogs. Also, let us know if you would like to bring the Dream Big series event to your school, corporation, or organization. Thank you for listening to the Dream Big series.